Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to WMMA Mania. This is episode 4. I am your host, Drake Riggs, here every Monday to bring you all your MMA needs, specifically on this show when it comes to the ladies of the sport. My goodness, what a lineup we have today. So many events, so little time. Just kidding. We'll be able to squeeze it all in. But there's so much that happened. I admittedly forgot to preview some of it last week. So shame on me, as this week we will be discussing and recapping Invicta Fc46. Of course, one lights out, had a fight. Deep Jewels 36 went down. Bellator 276, UFC Vegas 50, and some other stuff. Some news, previewing UFC London, just a lot going on as always. Thank you so much for tuning in, you guys, whether you're here on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Of course, if you are on Twitter, then head on over to YouTube or Facebook if you want to chime in for the live comments section. But the best place to be for that is YouTube, MMA Mania. If you're into that kind of thing. If not, then whatever, just enjoy having you here. So, what a week, what a day. I'm impossibly tired right now because of some things, but still spreading the positive vibes. Good to see everybody. Let's have a good day. Let's have a good week. All that good stuff. Great to see Chuck is here as he started things off 10 minutes early about this good afternoon. Salute to everybody. James is here. Rain. Jimmy, with the compliments, what a nice fella. Sammy, Makoto, oh yeah, buddy. Scott, the fist bump. Alvin, great to see you again. Hope you enjoyed the weekend of festive fights. So much going on. Good to see you as well, Centro. Rue, my goodness, you guys are too kind. All right, so without further ado, shall we get into the show officially as we start things off with Invicta Fc46. There's so much going on that I had to let the hair down, if you couldn't tell. So let's get into it. Invicta 46 was on Wednesday. It feels like forever ago already, but I guess it was the farthest show from in compared to all the others. So makes sense. But anyway, pretty fun event. Just a small 5 fights. Invicta always flies on by, very good with their pacing. The PFL could learn a thing or two. And in the end, Karina Rodriguez ends up retaining the title via split decision. Denise Gomez upsets Milana Dudaeva. Liz Tracy beats Danielle Taylor. Christina Williams gets a split over Floriani. And Monique Adriani defeats Paulina Granados. So let's start off from the top here with the title fight, the rematch, the instant rematch that wasn't supposed to be. It is Karina Rodriguez retaining her title against Diana Torquato. This fight, clearly, split decision, was closer than the first one. And I actually ended up scoring this fight for Torquato. I thought she did just enough in this one, was a bit more aggressive, seemed to find the timing of Karina. In terms of who was landing more effectively, that was actually very, very close with their strikes on the feet, but Torquato utilized her grappling much better. And I don't think Karina did not really try. She doesn't generally try to impose her wrestling or anything of the sort, but Diana was able to have much more success in those areas in this fight and took her down in multiple rounds. And there was the annoying thing going on with the open scoring of how they did not have the scores right as they were being read. So that was fun, confusing everybody. But thankfully, if you follow along on Twitter and the interwebs, you wouldn't have had to worry about that. But still, come on, let's get it right. Kansas, Missouri, wherever the hell, whichever state you want to be in. Just terrible commissions, and we'll talk more about that momentarily, but as we always have to, Karina ends up getting it done. It was close enough to where I don't think it was a robbery, but I did think that Torquato should have pulled it off. And it's funny because this same kind of thing has happened with Karina in the past before, in the, well, not a reverse order because she ended up losing the first fight. But if you guys remember or saw her first fight with Deanna Bennett, I mean, my goodness, that was one of the worst robberies that I've probably ever seen. Bennett getting the win there just from pretty much holding her against the cage. And then in the rematch, Karina gets the win. But I think Deanna should have won that one. She did a lot better in the rematch. So Karina has kind of been in these situations sometimes a little bit more often than others, I guess. But I don't know if that would necessarily apply to this. But I think really what that boils down to is just these horrible commissions, as I said. But either way, Karina didn't look bad. I think it was just Diana adjusted very well with limited time. Very limited time, as this was short notice. It wasn't supposed to be her. But if we go to the co-main event, my goodness, this was just the story of Milana Dudaeva's career. Really kind of sad to see that this happened once again to Milana, where a fighter came back on her, and somebody like Denise, who was also short notice because of the shuffling of the main event, which it was supposed to be Dudaeva versus Torquato. But Milana Dudaeva looked pretty great early on. First round, arguably got a 10-8 with or was this? I'm pretty sure it was the first round. One of those first two rounds, she got on top of her mounter and was raining it down. Potentially could have been stopped depending on who your referee is, but the point is Milana Dudaeva able to show some flashes of maybe not brilliance, but she has had moments where she's looked very good in fights, had some very good fighters hurt. I'll always remember that Vanessa Porto fight where she had Vanessa in plenty of trouble, was beating her, and then Vanessa comes back, knocks her out with a body shot. Similar kind of thing happened here, and it's just absolutely absurd when you look at Milana's record. I believe she's 1-6 in her last 7 now, from what I remember. 2-fight losing streak. Has fought plenty of good names and what have you, but she just... this is happening a little bit more frequently than you would probably prefer. And the stoppage was absolutely awful here. I don't know what the referee was waiting for. Just let her get pummeled. I don't know. But great stuff from Denise Gomez to rally like that and end up getting the finish. Curious to see more of her. But yeah, not great from Dudaeva. And Liz Tracy, the Pacific Northwest girl from Portland, gonna shout her out whenever I can. Gets the job done against Danielle Taylor, which, hey, how about that? She was able to still make the fight. She was able to make the fight interesting, as I had hoped, because Liz Tracy is pretty good at doing that. Always a fun fighter. Just was more effective overall. Utilized her wrestling and grappling abilities because she's pretty good at that jiu-jitsu thing. Has done some tournaments and Submission Underground herself. Got Danielle Taylor down in the first round. Was looking close to finishing it there too. Liz Tracy with is about great of a start as you could have asked for, and carried that momentum over in the rest of the fight and won it clean sweep on the judges' scorecards. So Danielle Taylor now drops to 0-2 in her last 2 fights. Needs to work on some things, obviously, but hey, very happy for Liz Tracy as always. Looked great out there, but unfortunately missed weight again. She has normally fought at flyweight in her career, so trying this strawweight thing out, she's got to make some adjustments on the diet and whatnot. And this, I don't remember if this was short notice as well. Obviously not a week's notice like the other 2 fights, but Liz Tracy wants a title fight. I think a Dakota fight would be fun. That'd be a fun matchup. Be a fun matchup. Great to see, but I don't think you should do that when she's missed weight twice in a row. As much as I, want to vouch for her again, being from Portland and whatnot, but you can't do that. You can't do that. So, and then Christina Williams and Flory Hani. These first 2 fights I kind of very half watched since I was still kind of closing up my work for the day, the shift writing. So didn't pay too much attention to him. Adriani looked like she was just kind of a step ahead of Granados from what I did see. Christina Williams, I saw less of that fight, honestly, but good for her to get back in the win column and show that she can still hang despite leaving Bellator, I suppose. So I'll have to go back and check those out because they are on YouTube. If you did miss this event, it is nice and free for you to go check out on Invicta's YouTube channel as well as MMA Junkie. So yeah, let's see here. What is everybody saying? All right. Where are we? So many. Thank you, guys. Bum, bum, bum. Okay. Thank you, Jin. I see ganging up all of a sudden for no reason. He says, "What's up?" Long rant later about Robertson versus Aldrich if you're up for it. Yes, go for it. I don't have a lot to say about that either, but I'm curious to hear what you got to say. Alvin says, Invicta is such a fantastic organization, such great fights with phenomenal fighters. Indeed. Chuck says, decision Deanna. Yeah, looking good lately. Ruth said, I did not see this fight. I just saw the UFC card. Is it on YouTube? Yes, as I mentioned, it is on YouTube. Invicta's YouTube. As Chad also says. Jin says, Taylor's on this card. I still cannot forgive her for not letting Whaley finish her. Made Whaley stay. Well, okay. I mean, that was not going to happen. Not going to let her finish somebody, but I understand what you're saying. And Cintro, that this comment triggers me a little bit right off the bat here. Should we complain about bad decisions? Absolutely, we should. Ghost can say there's nothing we can do about it. That's not true. Yes, we maybe cannot change the result of what has happened already. But the more we speak about how shitty and terrible some of these calls can be, the more uproar there's going to be and hope for change. That is all you can do because we know that these commissions never want to admit they're wrong. Thankfully, it seems like Kansas and Missouri, the two, combine them, they're practically the same level of terrible. At least they're trying new things and listen a little bit by having open scoring and having had some project type scoring things where I know media members have scored for them and they want to hear their thoughts on why they score. So at least they're listening. And that's the whole point. You make enough noise about how terrible things are, eventually something's going to change. It's taken quite a while, but that is why you let it be known that you cannot let these kind of things slide. These are fighters' lives and careers that you're dealing with. So yeah, we should absolutely complain about it. That's the one time that, I'm not a big fan of complainers or anything, but in this case, it's very important. Very important in my opinion. So yeah. James says, someone on MMA Decisions gave Taylor a round against Whaley. How absurd is that? I haven't watched the fight in a while, but I did not. I remember not giving her a round either. Yeah. Mary is here. Good to see you again, as always. She says, Whaley had another live chat on Sunday. She said she was impressed with Song Yadong. Song Yadong is phenomenal. Yeah, that was a brilliant performance from him. I mean, my goodness, the talent that guy has for his age. Very, very good, very scary. Bantamweight is just chef's kiss. Best division in the world. And I'm hoping to speak with Song Yadong in the near future if I can. Just got to find my way to him. But yeah, I would love to speak with Song. Like a great fella and a very, very good fighter. I think he's awesome. So what is up, Litchfield Scott? My goodness, it has been a while, hasn't it? So welcome to the new show, the new stage. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Do all that. You know how it goes. Yeah, good times here. Yes, of course, Centro. Of course. Yeah, appreciate you wondering. So yes. I didn't take that negatively or not, but some people get a little fired up about things. So anyway, that was Invicta FC46. Quick, fun little card, as the Invicta ones generally are. And then the night after, what would have been Friday morning for us in the States. I'm not going to calculate all the time differences here, but one lights out did happen, and it had one fight, and it was a kickboxing match, but it had the fighting sister an MMA fighter primarily, Lin Hashin ends up getting a unanimous decision in kickboxing against Milagros Lopez. Just watched this fight right before going on air because missed it at live. I always miss the one events live because they're just the worst timing for me personally. But Lin Hashin ends up winning in kickboxing. She just fought a couple weeks ago, right? Got right back in there, staying active. She missed a year and so much time. What, 2 years maybe? I don't remember. It was so long, but Lynn looking great. Her striking has always been her strong suit. Her 1-2 was just money in that first round, bloodied up Lopez's nose. Right hand was like a laser beam. Obviously landed some nice kicks there as well. She looked great in this fight. Kind of makes me want to watch her do more kickboxing. But of course, I'm not going to say no to see Lynn continuing with MMA, and she wants that title shot. She wants to get back in that atomweight mix, which she definitely will. And this fight was at 125, their strawweight division. Hate that because of the short notice for Lynn. I can guarantee you that much. But either way, went out there and did the damn thing. So good for her. Great to see. She is quite good. As Jimmy says, Lynn looking like Whaley in their typical Black Tiger MMA lineage. All right, making some comparisons. Not too shabby. So yeah, congrats to Lynn. Oh, oops, always a fun one to watch. Keeps on keeping on. Just happy that she was able to stay active that way. Don't really see that kind of thing all too often, I would say. But all right, so as we move on now to the card that I forgot, I forgot that it was this past week, and I didn't forget that it was this past weekend, but I don't know. Deep Jewels just, I always forget when they're coming up. I lock it down right from the announcement, and then they just creep up on me so much. So forgot to preview it last week, which is a bummer because I typically don't watch those live either as much as I would love to. Always got something kind of going on Saturday night, no matter what it might be. But either way, we do have Deep Jewels 36 results and some very surprising results, one of which some of you may know already, but let's take a look at it just to gloss over them. Can't say too much aside from reading the recaps from our friends over at MMA Rising and sogokaku.com, where they have all your coverage there for the events. But Deep Jewels 36 did go down. And my, oh my. Rin Nakai, surprise, surprise, gets a TKO finish, ground and pound in the main event over Shoko Fujita, advances in the tournament. That is not a surprise whatsoever. Good for her, getting back in there and getting the win. Shizuka Sugiyama, oh, Xi'an gets it done as well. Split decision, which is interesting. Very, very curious to see this fight. Of course, Shimizu, Nirvana, whatever you want to call her. No slouch, just the experience gap between Shizuka and Rin with the other competitors, just ridiculous. So I thought and expected it to be a little bit easier. And I mean, from reading how it went, sounds like it maybe didn't need to be a split, but I got to see it myself. So that's kind of a win in a way for Shimizu to be that competitive to where a judge thought she won against Shizuka. So that will be an interesting one to go back and check out. But ultimately, the experience triumphs. And that's what we want to see because we want to see Shizuka versus Rin Nakai. That's clearly the fight here. But here's the big one. The upset. As Hime, the Miko Kawabata, defeated Saori Oshima via unanimous decision. Wow. This blew my mind to see because certainly didn't expect that. Of course, Saori always going to be undersized, but it sounds like it might have been a problem in this one. And I mean, how open is atom weights? So unpredictable. When you think it's all figured out, this new blood has risen to the top. It keeps on rising because, I mean, Hime, by defeating Saori, that jumps her into the top 5 automatically, right? If you're going to be real about your rankings, I don't think Saori should drop too far. Again, still got to see it. But, man, That's a big upset. That's a very big upset considering the year she already had last year. My goodness. Still kind of crazy to think about. Very curious to see how that one goes too. But again, it brings you to the question of why not just make it for the title? Because now this is going to hold her up even more. I don't know. It might don't know when she was going to go back to Ryzen anyway, but with the 2 titles, but now for sure the next fight's going to be a rematch, you would think, for her atomweight title. I would think that would make sense, but the kind of theory in this case is that because these fights were at 108, which is the super atomweight division, obviously Ryzen does the super atomweights, that maybe they're scoping out potential for a atomweight tournament this year. So we'll see about that, as Miki Matono, also making her debut down there, defeats Nisei. Not surprised by that one either. No offense to Nisei, but it's just like, I have never been too impressed with her. And arguably don't think she even should have beat Arikoga in her Ryzen debut, but Miki Matono ends up pulling that one off by an armbar. That one, not surprising to me. Mori Suda, though, let's talk about Mori Suda, because this is one of those young wonder children, I guess you could say. Just 18, I believe, on that same level as Eru Takabayashi, and has the win over Takabayashi, I believe, in her, maybe not her last fight, but the one before that. I guess I could just look right here. But she submits Hikaru Aono in the first round. And as we know, Hikaru Aono, one of the best wrestlers in the division, has been around for a decent bit now. But excuse me, by the way, Suda is still 17. Mori Suda is still 17 years old. That's pretty ridiculous. Yes, and the Takabayashi win was her last before this. Got an armbar against her too. Mori Suda is looking very good. And to be able to submit Hikaru Aono, who has seemed to stagnate in terms of her development and really not grow out of being a wrestler, still impressive to get for Suda to finish her like that. So, geez, atomweight is something. And then Yuko Suzuki, split decision over Sadai Suzumura, and Mizuki Furuse, much needed win against Kobayashi, 2-11 into the first round. Good for her. Has really struggled since that Kana fight. And then in the opening fight, Saki Nakamura defeats Regina in a kickboxing match. Amateurs too, at 119. But there you have it. That is Deep Jewels 36. My goodness. Can't wait to watch that one. I have to stop being lazy and just get on it one of these days live. For the right card, I will. Always just so much happening, I suppose. As Rue commenting that Lin Hae-shin looked great. I believe that's what he was is referencing there. As Jimmy agrees that he loves my story. Appreciate it greatly, man. I'm assuming that's reference to... Oh, wow. I missed some of these, actually. Let me go back. Apologies, guys. No, I totally missed this. Sharon, good to see you. Sharon Yao says, Drake, I read your Way to Remember the Name article after watching your fight against Andrade. She inspired me to start watching MMA. Great work, friend. Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you so much. That really does mean a lot that you would check that out. And then, very cool to be inspired to start watching MMA after that. Appreciate you checking it out very much, and that you liked it and you thought it was great. So thank you. Yes, that one was one of my favorites to do for sure. So very cool. And welcome to the show, by the way. So yeah, very nice. And Jimmy, okay, appreciate that as well. Litchfield says, I hope Ren can get at least one more fight in the UFC like she wants. Not happening. Not happening. I'm surprised that she even was able to get back into Deep Jewels, honestly. She's just such a pain to work with from everything I've heard. So yeah, I would not bet on that happening, Litchfield, but hey, she'd be a welcome addition to flyweight, as would Shizuka. No idea why the hell them or Bellator haven't picked Shizuka up yet. Just blows my mind. As we got Jumbo Sang here. Drake, your Phantom Punch breakdowns are very insightful. Will there be more? I love all the whaley ones, especially the elbows. Well, appreciate it greatly, Jumbo. But of course, let me say, Phantom Punch breakdowns are not my breakdowns specifically. I just narrated them for our good friend here, Ghost Phantom. And they are indeed very insightful. Will there be more? Time will tell. Time will tell. It's a little bit tricky with the new platform, as I've mentioned a couple times now, but we'll see. We did kind of a little slideshow version last week, a little real quick mini slideshow. So maybe that can be something, but we'll figure it out if we have to. As Chuck says, Oshima ran into the rare fighter who knows how to use their height and reach. Well, that is certainly never a good thing to run into when you're as tiny as she is. So that is interesting. As Jumbo says, love Zhang Weili. After watching her win the belt, I wanted to join an MMA gym, but couldn't find one. So joined a BJJ gym. And I love it. Well, that is awesome. Hey, next best thing, right? One thing leads to another. Very cool, though. That is very cool. Look at that. Weili inspiring people. Litchold says, I saw the other day that Bellator have a women's atomweight option in their fighters page. Maybe they're thinking about doing atomweight fights, or did they do it before? So yeah, that has been there for years, Litchold. And once I first noticed that, and I want to say 2018, and I was at a Bellator show, I did ask Scott Coker about it to his face, and he said, no, we're not thinking about opening it. And ever since then, I've asked him, you gonna do the atomweights yet? Ever since then, but no, nothing has happened. But yes, they have done atomweight fights. Reina versus Lindsey Van Zant was atomweight. I think Lindsey Van Zant had the first fight, that is. Lindsey Van Zant had a fight in Bellator before that one as well. There have been a couple. There have been less than 5, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, Bellator has done atomweight fights. So that's kind of the explanation there. And that's pretty much what Scott said to me. But no official division, obviously. Why not try it? They could. They could. As Chuck says, Oshima versus Hime was at 49, so super atomweight. Doubt Hime can shed the extra 3 for atomweight. Maybe. Don't know until you try. But I don't know. Just silly to me. Yuna is back. Great to see you. She says she loves the show, so insightful and helpful at what to look at before UFC events. Love you. Focus solely on the women too. Of course, have to. Somebody's got to do it. Someone's got to do it. So great to see you again, Yuna, as well. Yeah, no problem at all. It's a common misconception. Jumbo, don't worry. As Go says, guys, the biggest thing is that we don't get Drake in trouble. Indeed, that is certainly a good thing to not have happen, which I think we'll be pretty good at that. So, all right. Anyways, we'll move on from Deep Jewels. Still got so much to talk about. My goodness, might go a little over today, but I am starving, so I'm going to try my best to keep this to the mark. As we move to Bellator 276, just one fight once again. Let's stop the share. And actually, the whole reason that I am so tired today on this Monday is because of Diana Avsaragova getting the win over Kayla Batara via unanimous decision. And if you're wondering how that makes any sense, it's because I spoke to Diana this morning. Great getting to chat with her. Always a fun time. Actually, I feel like she displays not a very maybe welcoming personality, but she's always been great to me, and is always a fun person to chat with. So that was great. Look forward to that on MMAmania.com. Hoping for maybe tomorrow. We'll see if I can crank it out, but it'll be out this week for sure. Either way, Diana gets the win over Kayla Batara in a pretty ridiculous fight, at least in terms of Kyra's approach. I mean, my goodness, she straight up just ran like a freight train at Diana. And I mean, hey, I guess that was the best approach she could have taken, considering the size disadvantage that she had in this fight. As Kayla Batara, you want to talk about atomweights, somebody who should be back at atomweight, but this was at flyweight, short notice, all that. Yeah. Bellator, unfortunately, doesn't have divisions lower than that for her, so it's kind of weird for her to be stuck in this division when she's 4'11", 125, gonna just be a little bit outmatched in a lot of areas here, but tried her best to close that distance against Diana and did so in some moments, but any takedown attempts or whatnot were thwarted because Diana Afsaragova is actually a pretty great wrestler. You wouldn't know it, though, watching her Bellator career, because she has not utilized her wrestling offensively whatsoever. Just defensively, as we saw in this fight in a couple of instances. In the third round in particular, getting some sprawls, but I mean, Kyra was just giving her the counters all day, and her striking's looking sharp. Her movement was very on point. She didn't tire, which was, impressive to see when someone is just being so aggressive in your face, making you move as much as she was being forced to move. So I thought this was a fairly impressive performance. Not the cleanest in terms of an actual fight from both sides, but I thought Diana looked pretty good. Of course, not the best opponent she could have fought in all the circumstances, like I said, but I mean, hey man, she's not needing her strength to win fights, which that's pretty impressive and scary potentially a scary thing going down the line as she only gets better and better. Just 5-0 now. But yeah, I'm liking everything I'm seeing out of her. So looking forward to what is next. Some good tools in that toolbox, I would say. As Zhao is here, good to see you again as well. Good afternoon. I saw the show on rewatch. Really positive vibes from both you in the chat. We do our best. I do my best, at least. Sometimes I got to corral these guys that get a little worked up. That's all in good fun, though. Yes, we try. So good to see you again, Zhao, as well. As Alvin says, such a great weekend of fights. Love watching these fighters put it on the line and see the hard work they put on display in the cage. Of course, always good. Rue says, I saw this fight. Very odd to run in like that for Kyra. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I'm assuming that was her thinking that was her best bet in closing the distance. And I mean, she ate plenty to give, not too many, but hey, she tried. Yeah, I guess that's all you could say about that. Even though Ghost does mention there are other ways to close the distance. Sanshai stands at the end of range against small opponents and lets the opponent close the distance for them against small opponents, though. But from the small opponent's perspective is where we're looking at. And Sanshai fights people that are way taller than him. Okay, so you're ahead of me, Ghost. But according to Yusuf, that's bad distance management. I had to throw it in. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Either way, is what it is. That's how it went down. And I mean, I think Diana was always going to win this fight anyway, no matter how much time they had to prepare. I mean, also Kyra hadn't fought in like 2 years, so this was it was what it was. But hey, I think she made the best of it. Looked solid out there. Keeps on keeping on. Still not a fan of the rankings. As good as she's looking and hasn't beat anyone super notable yet, is ranked at number 9. But hey, what you gonna do? Let's not get into that now, shall we? But yeah, either way, look forward to that interview I had with her coming out this week. So caught up with her this morning, as I said. Good stuff. And it might be a little bit, here's a tidbit for you. It might be a little bit before we see her again, because she's going to have her shoulder checked out. Says she felt a pop in that third round. So hopefully nothing serious, but she'll check it out when she gets back home to Russia, currently in Miami. So enjoying a little bit of a vacation. As Go says, I meant against tall opponents. Sanchai is like 5'3" and fights guys that are 6 feet and doesn't run face first. A little more calculated. He is a little bit more tactical, smarter, you name it. Not that needs to be said. Sorry, Kyra. You know how it is. But all right, we're past the halfway mark already. Just getting in to UFC Vegas 50, which don't think we'll spend too much time on this, honestly, because I don't know if I have too much to say about it. But Ghost, go ahead and get your rant ready while I share the thoughts that I did have on Jillian Robertson dropping a unanimous decision, 30-27 to JJ Aldrich. Oh, yes, I love and I want to be positive as much as I can, you guys, but I also got to be real about things. in certain situations. And this is one of those times, as I did think that this is pretty much how I thought this fight would go. I did think, well, aside from, I thought JJ would have maybe tried to wrestle her a little bit more, just because we've seen again that you can have success against Jillian Robertson on top. And Jillian Robertson primarily is only effective when she's on top, as we've seen time and time again. But JJ didn't really even bother with that, which she didn't need to, clearly, was outlanding her in the striking, with the exception of that third round, according to the stats, that is. But this fight felt like it was way longer than it was. This just was not, this wasn't very good. This was not a very good fight. There's nothing else to say about that. It felt just very slow. It felt like slow motion to me, like it was 6 rounds. And I don't know. Wasn't the most impressive performance from JJ, even though she keeps on keeping on. I don't know how many she's won in a row now, but she's on a little bit of a roll here, at least in terms of gaining momentum. But this fight wasn't a performance that's going to, get people clamoring to see her come back. And as for Jillian, still there's so much to work on. We know what she's best at, and that's kind of that. Guess we can leave it there. Again, I don't have too many things to say about this. Nothing too nice, so why say too much at all? But I'll give you the chance here, Ghost. I will give you the chance here. And oh boy, we're off to quite a start. As he says, Robertson versus Aldrich was literally everything that is bad about the women. Caveat, not all of the women competing is bad, since there are certain female fighters that I will sit down and watch over male fighters. All right, I don't like where this is going, Ghost. Why it was bad. Large portions of this fight. Well, hold on. Before I continue, let's just say I don't think it's fair to generalize like that. I've never been one to agree with that kind of thing. So I'll get that out of the way before we continue. As he says, why it was bad. Large portions of this fight seemed back and forth, since Aldrich would step back and forth on the tracks, throwing 3-2s, while Robertson threw 1-2 with the occasional front kick. Okay, that seems like a fair assessment. Says, so they alternated back and forth between exchanges while making no adjustment to see what the other was doing. Yes, completely agree. And they accidentally would find each other in those exchanges. Yeah, that's pretty accurate as well. Both would circle, then stop and set their feet, then stand on the tracks, throw a combination, then completely ignore what the other is doing. Yep, also fair. This fight never got beyond the exchange that was happening. None of Robertson or Aldrich combos were ever built into anything. Nope. Which is why it just was not very good, obviously. Each exchange was like an episode of Rick and Morty where everything is back to normal at the end, no matter what silly nonsense or wacky shenanigans happened during this episode. My goodness, what a metaphor that was, my friend. Goodness. As Alex is here, good to see you, my friend. Yeah. All right. So, I mean, that was all pretty agreeable, I would say. I don't think you can really disagree with that, but I don't like the generalization. I will stick to that, though. As Chuck says, typical Aldrich fight in my eyes. She'll never get pushed unless she starts making statements in her fights. It's just not her style. It's just not how she fights. Doesn't have a lot of power. Not much of a submission threat. She's just kind of in that one of those spots where pretty well rounded, but doesn't excel too well anywhere, I don't think. So yeah. Jersey Lee is here. Good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for tuning in. Says, hi, Drake. Love your Zhang Wei Li. Mangbo retrospective. I have a loaded question for you, if that's okay. Well, first of all, thanks so much, Jersey. Yeah, that was a fun one to do. I forget somebody gave me the idea for that, so shout out to that person. Sorry for forgetting who it was, but it was on Twitter. Someone asked about that. I think it was maybe Maurice Levin, if I'm giving the shout out correctly. If not, then you're welcome, Maurice. But yes, of course, they're always open to any questions, Jersey. So go for it. As Rue says, Rick and Morty reference made the rant that awesome. That is awesome. Or makes that rant awesome. Either way. Yeah, didn't see that coming. Can always count on Ghost to throw in a little extra flavor there. But aside from that fight at UFC Vegas 50, Miranda Maverick did the damn thing, looked great, continues to set back poor Sabina Mazo, the Colombian queen. It's been a little bit rough for the Colombian queen, hasn't it? As she suffers a second round rear naked choke submission loss. This was kind of one-way traffic, the Miranda Maverick show, utilizing that grappling. Brilliant kind of exchange there, her sequence to get the fight to the ground, and then right to the back and submits the striker in Sabina Mazo. Still just 24, so plenty of room to continue growing, but I think we are kind of seeing now that she probably was not ready for the UFC despite getting some wins in the octagon. This very well could have been her last fight, which probably is for the best at the moment. But it's weird once you get there, it's like, how far back do you go then, right? Like, Bellator is going to be that option. Well, Bellator is the next best place you can be. Is that still too much? I'll find out, I guess. But I think like Invicta or something would be good for Sabina. I don't know. It's just been rough. Been a rough stretch for her, clearly. But Miranda Maverick, good win there. Good win there indeed. So, Oh. All right. No offense taken, Jersey. Just not quite comprehending, I suppose, what's going on there. But hey, if you're gonna leave, I can't stop you. So then there's no need for me to answer your question if you're not going to be around. So Litchfield Scott says that takedown defense was, it was that very easy for Miranda to take her down. I was surprised. Yeah. Again, just one of those things. Sabina, it's got to work on it. Got to work on it, right? But anyway, that's UFC Vegas 50. Not to get derailed or anything. Gonna have to appoint some mods here at some point just to help me out, you guys. But thought I would try and do it all myself here in the beginning. Might need to change, but okay. All right, Jersey. Well, here, let's look at it. Let me give you a quick look here before, because hey, just to be honest with you, we've had these kind of things come in the chat before, and you never know if you could be hiding as somebody else, because we've had plenty of fake accounts or alternate accounts of trolls being multiple. You know how it goes. But anyway, Jersey, let's entertain you, since I'm in a better mood after being very tired, as I mentioned earlier. But he says, why does Whaley always get politics attached to her when she never talks about? Okay, wow, I actually misread this completely. I'm very sorry, Jersey. You know, that's the kind of shit that I've had to deal with. So I apologize. I thought that you were saying, why does Whaley always get political? That's what I thought you were saying. And let me continue to read this, but that's where my mind went, because that's the kind of shit that happens a lot over here. Not a lot, but to me, I get that. Unfortunately, an unfortunate amount. But anyways, Jersey says, why does Whaley always get politics attached to her when she never talks about politics? All right. Yes. Fair question indeed. As he then says, from the interviews I have seen, she's passionate about martial arts and always improving. She also talks about helping grow the sport of MMA in her home country. Yes. And if we're going to go off of the newer people in the chat, she's been doing that. If we can, trust them at face value, you have to, right? No reason not to. And from several other people that I've spoken to personally. But says, but fans in other media seem to focus on where she is from and the things her country does than her as an individual martial artist. So honestly, Jersey, I think this is something I've definitely talked about on WMA Today, the past incarnation of this show. But It just comes down to the divisive times without me getting political here, but there was when the pandemic started, not right away, but eventually we had the whole thing where there were just racist, dumb assholes in America who were not being great to Asian people, no matter what ethnicity or nationality they were from Asia. Uh, and that's why we had the whole Stop Asian Hate, hashtag and thing going on, because people are fucking dumb. So I don't know. I don't have a great answer for you, but because of how things get painted in a grand scheme, it ropes in a lot of people, and you can tie this into right now exactly with the Russia Ukraine stuff. Again, this is not me wanting to get all about this, but you asked, so I will give you the answer. But look at what has happened with some of the. Let's look at KSW for example. They are not allowing Russian fighters to compete for them right now, even though that doesn't mean those Russian fighters are going to war supporting what Russia's doing, whatever it may be, right? Same kind of thing, I think, happening with this paintbrush of China that you're kind of referring to. Just kind of how it appears to me and why that will happen. I can't speak to specifics of anybody in the media or whomever. The fans, oh, for sure. We know that the MA fans, majorly, very toxic, macho, ridiculous people. And trust me, I see plenty of those on stories, videos all the time. So, yeah, you know, just I think that's the best way to summarize it without going too deep there. But let's see what you guys are saying. As Litchell does mention again about the fight, both 24 years, but CM Sabina is done with UFC. I hope not. For now, she could always come back. Yeah. As Jersey says, Drake, I met Whaley at 248. She was one of the nicest people I've met. She is fantastic. She's an incredibly nice individual indeed. There's no doubt about that. So that's why it's always so funny. In any case, I don't understand why hate someone you've never met, unless they're objectively a terrible person, right? Like if they're, a murderer or crazy things like that, then yeah, that's fair. But for an athlete who, if you don't have any legitimate reason to hate somebody, then what are you doing? Why are you wasting your energy? As Rue nominates James and Jimmy as the mods, they literally block people quickly. I mean, you don't want to be too quick though, in my opinion, Rue. That's it depends, of course, but yeah. Alvin says it's never right to go after people from where they are. Everyone has different cultures, and we should respect that. There you go, Alvin, being the man. So, all right. I hope that was good enough. Yeah, Jersey, no problem. I always try to be. I'm all about honesty. So, yeah, no problem at all, man. And if people get mad at me, oh well. But I don't think that's too crazy of anything that I said. So, whatever. Anyway, as we move on, wrapping up the recaps. Yeah, we're going to go a little bit over, obviously, here. But just one of those Mondays. All right, we'll try to keep this under 130, that's for sure. But all right, so as we get ready to wrap up, there's one last thing that did happen this week, and you guys already mentioned it a little bit, and that is Panchan. Need I say more? Rena Panchan gets another win. You're welcome. Look forward to seeing that fight as well. Did not see that one yet, but good for Panchan. Always fun to watch her fights. So there you go. Rain knows what's up. Pancana Alliance, what have you. And Kimball says, great answer to a hard question. Good to see you again, Drake. Thank you so much, Kimball, and great to see you as well. I appreciate that. Yeah, just being honest. So I'm trying to break it down as best I can. So Panchan, friend of the podcast. Indeed she is. I have to catch up with her again soon. Banchan's always fun. So, all right, as for the news, my goodness, plenty of news. Oh my goodness, all sorts of different types of news this week. All good things, I think, except for maybe this first one from a fan perspective. So let's talk about the first bit of news, maybe the biggest for most, but not for me. You guys will know what the biggest bit of news was once we get to it. But Kayla Harrison has re-signed with the PFL for, I believe it's a multi-year deal, but we kind of had a feeling that this was where things were going to go. Was hoping it was going to be Bellator. Seemed like there was some real hope and possibility for that, but PFL matched the offer, ruined it all. Why wouldn't they? They did. Now Kayla's staying. And so I'm excited to at least see that Julia Budd fight, which is the only fight that is interesting for her right now and the only fight that should be competitive right now. But that's it. That's it. So the PFL either needs to have a cross promotion with Bellator, make the Cyborg fight, or sign Cyborg once her Bellator deal is up, which is expected to be in the summertime, according to according to Cyborg, if I can speak. So yeah, good for Kayla. Make that money. Can't blame her for that. You really can't. But from a fan perspective, this sucks. You want to see her fight actual featherweights mainly, and just the Bellator roster. I'm fine with that. But in PFL right now, at this exact moment, it's just Julia Budd. So we'll see that at some point, but that is all to look forward to at the moment, I think. Unless they bring in some other crazy names, but who knows? So good for Kayla. Don't need to spend too much time on that one, as there is plenty of news, like I said, and we'll just go somewhat rapid fire. But also, Liang Na is back as she will take on Silvana Gomez Juarez at UFC 275 on June 11th. This event is expected to be in Singapore, not yet confirmed, but man, excited to see Liang Na back after one hell of a UFC debut that unfortunately did not go her way. Very fun fight against Ariane Carnelossi, of course, at UFC 61? Feels like forever ago. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, this should be a fun fight. Another tough one for Silvana in what is for sure her last chance to keep her job in the UFC. Just had a rough go of it so far. Obviously got submitted by Vanessa Demopoulos that last time out. Then before that was the short notice Loopy fight. But yeah, here we are. Plenty of time to prepare for this one. And two former flyweights going at it. So pretty fair matchup. Should be fun. Both very good strikers. As Liang Na also very capable on the ground. So I got to lean towards her early on, but I'm just happy to see her back because it'd been a while. Was wondering what was up with her. So yeah. And Silvana, you guys know I like Silvana as well, but man, not making it easy for her. Not making it easy whatsoever in the UFC. But that's just how circumstances of the time, I guess. Strawweight division is loaded. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? As we move to somebody we were just mentioning, Cris Cyborg is back and defending her title, not against Sinead Kavanagh in a rematch, but an Arlene Blanco rematch at Bellator 278, 79. One of those, I put it on the ticker wrong, according to MMA Junkie here on the picture. It says April 23rd. All right, we'll go with that. Bellator 279 in Honolulu, Hawaii. So this is certainly a more interesting rematch than the Sinead Kavanagh one, but still a very, very fresh and recent first fight that was. So how differently can it go? We'll find out. Blanco still one of the best featherweights in the world. So again, not really mad at it, but how differently Can it go so soon? I don't know. But I'll take it. In Hawaii should be fun. So that's that one. But also returning in Hawaii is the Eliminator, the Pineapple Princess, Lima McFarlane, which apparently on the same card. My ticker is just off, so ignore that. But Bellator 279 on April 23rd, as I do back-to-back events. Honolulu, of course. Olima is going to return for that one against Justine Quiche. Not the fight I would have expected. I'll tell you that much. Not at all the fight I would have expected, especially considering that Olima was matched up with Kana Watanabe. Get the flags out. After her loss to Juliana Velasquez, and that fight has never ended up happening for, I think, injury reasons to Olima, but that is the fight Bellator wanted to make, and it ended up turning into, I think that ended up being Liz versus Kana. That's how we got there. Or, yeah, I think that's how that went, if my memory serves me right. But Olima returning with not a softball, definitely not, but it's been a while since we saw her, coming off a loss, and now taking on Justine Quiche, who is coming off a loss in her Bellator debut to Deanna Bennett, and a couple losses in the UFC as well. Just, on paper, an easier matchup than someone else she could have gotten. Somebody ranked, first of all, but hey, in Hawaii, I guess that all makes sense. This is just, man, I hate Bellator matchmaking. If we're going to be completely honest, it's just so painfully obvious, some of the things they do. And then when it's not, it's like, what the hell are you doing? It's one of those two extremes. Like, okay, clearly this, or okay, what, huh? I don't know. I'll watch it, of course. Love Olima, but I don't. Could have done something. Could have done something else here. It's fine. Should be an interesting fight, and we know that Olima, if she gets it to the ground, then there you go. But yeah, is what it is. Good to have her back. That's the main thing. Good to have Olima McFarlane, former champ, back at all and at home. But you know who else it's good to have back, you guys? Both of these ladies. My most anticipated fight, maybe ever. I'm not going to go that far. We'll see how it builds up. But my most anticipated fight right now, for sure, is the super atomweight title fight rematch between the champion, Ayaka Hamasaki, and Sayaka Izawa, the real champion, if we're going to be honest, on April 17th, Ryzen 35 in Shofu, Japan. Holy shit, this card is already off to an absolute chef's kiss of a start with 3 title fight rematches, but this one is the big kibosh, as Michael Schiavello would say. Oh, man. You knew it was going to happen, just didn't know when. Sayaka Izawa, Ayaka Hamasaki, the belt is on the line. The belch, as they would say in Brazil, right? The Brazilians with the accent. But it can't come soon enough. I want it so terribly badly right now. No idea how it's going to go. I will be stunned if it looks anything similar to the first fight. I could see this being incredibly competitive. I mean, I lean towards it being coming down to like a split decision, like it being a very close, wild fight where the GOAT comes back and all right, maybe it is not her. It's actually not her time anymore. We saw it happen the first time, but she tried her damnedest to prove, and maybe she ends up doing it, that she is still up there and still is the best. But I struggle to see Ayaka coming back and walking through Sayaka. Like if someone's getting walked through, it's gonna be Ayaka again, which feels so crazy to say, but the fact that Sayaka did that and how much of a robot this woman is in terms of her mentality, she's the truth. She's the future, an absolute prodigy of prodigies. You guys know this. And just an insane story. The greatest rookie year in MMA history. Doesn't make any sense to me. This fight's going to be absolutely insane. I am so excited for it. I can't really put it into words. That was the best I could do. That right there. I got to stop talking about it, otherwise I won't be able to function. It's too great. It's too great. I'm just waiting for the announcement. And to close up the news lineup today, at flyweight, Melissa Gatto is taking on Tracy Cortez at UFC 274 on May 7th in Phoenix, Arizona. This was a fight that I shared my thoughts on briefly on Twitter. If you follow me there, then you saw that. But I don't like this matchmaking at all. I am not a fan of this. I don't think it makes too much sense. When you look at Melissa Gatto, who has looked sensational in her first two UFC fights. Yes, Victoria Leonardo in her debut, not the greatest opponent. Victoria, we know, unfortunately, shouldn't have been in the UFC. Got the contract off Contender Series, which was very odd. We've seen better kind of performances lead to wherever. And then after that, though, becomes the first person to finish Sijara Eubanks. I mean, that's a big win. That's a former, should have been, title challenger, a top-ranked person in bantamweight and formerly flyweight, like I said. And then against Tracy Cortez, who I think I scored the Justine Quiche fight with Cortez for Quiche, and that was in Cortez's last fight at flyweight, which she should always have been at flyweight, but she started her UFC career at bantamweight for some reason, drops down. I don't know. This just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me going off their last fights. I think that Gatto should maybe get, a top 15 after that. Being able to finish Sijara Eubanks in the way she did, just absolutely wonderful stuff there. And Tracy, who still kind of just hasn't been nearly as impressive, I don't think. Stylistically, yeah, fairly interesting matchup here, but it feels like it's a step backwards a little bit for Gatto. And I had the argument that maybe they're doing it because Tracy's from Phoenix. Very well could be the case, but I don't know. Not what I would have went with, but hey, I'll take it. Is what it is. Excited to see Melissa Gatto back, that's for sure. She is very fun to watch, and looking forward to maybe catching up with her as well. So once again. All right. Let's scroll back through the comments, catch up on you guys. Sorry, just had to get through the news portion as we are over that hour mark. What have we done? Interest is in PanCon. We stan. Litchfield says, then she says she wants to be the GOAT, as he's talking about Kayla, I imagine. And Melanie is here. Good to see you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Another new face. Appreciate seeing you. It says, greetings. I read your Megumi article and Zhang article. Very good writing and storytelling. Zhang Weili actually inspired me to become a fan of MMA. Such an intricate sport. Another great thing to hear. That is awesome, Melanie. Very cool. And I appreciate you so much taking the time to check out both of those stories, especially the Megumi one. That is my magnum opus, the most important thing I've ever done. If we're going to put it completely honestly. In terms of work anyways, that's my baby. Put a lot into that one. So great to have you. Thank you so much. Jimmy says, Kayla fighting the killers in a division that doesn't exist. Well, I wouldn't even go that far, Jimmy. As James says, SGJ Silvana getting armbarred again. Very possible. Very possible. Rain says, does Liang Na crack her then submit Juarez? Also possible. I mean, as we've seen, she's got power, that's for sure. But I don't know. I think that Silvana's pretty durable. If you look at the war she had with Ariane Lipsky, I think got dropped once, but went the full 5 with her, and that was prime violence queen. So possible. I don't know if I'd bet on it though. As Litchfield says, I think Lamavada can win this one. It's winnable, yes, but man, I don't know. Liang Na is something. As Chuck says, Na by first round finish or Juarez wins. All right. He's not trusting the gas tank. That was obviously a problem the last time as well. As Melanie says, I loved Liang Na too. Saw an interview with her in the Migu app. All right, there you go. There you go. Cintro says, no more Fanta Punch guessing for us. Well, there's no Fanta Punch going on right now, Cintro, so no. So unfortunately, no. As Litchell says, I rather atom weight fights than featherweights. Yeah, no, 100%. No doubt about that. As Rain says, isn't Cyborg training with Cejudo? Doesn't that make the news? She is training with Cejudo, but that doesn't make the news on this show. That is for my morning reports. You can check those out on MMA Fighting. But no. No, that's not super new. I don't even know if that's going to be for the camp. I haven't paid that much attention to it, but Rain says Amanda Nunes changing camps made it. Yeah, I know. But again, like I said just now, I don't even know if that's the case. And here come the Kana the flags. Excellent. The Army. Kana for Prez. Wave the Kana flag. Kana's the best. We need to get Stamina over here, you guys. I don't think he knows I got the new show going. Where's Stamina at? So Little says number one versus unranked newcomer. Not make any sense. Yep. Talking about Alima versus Justine. Not great. Not great. As Jen says, Alanon Cocker building up prospects to the extreme. I don't even know what that means, but he says, and Team Kana. As Chuck says, Bellator doing things right, giving the former champ a tune-up fight after a long layoff and surgery. UFC could learn that lesson rather than burning fighters out. That is also a fair point. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could have had somebody in the back of the top 10 at least. Like, I know Ob Saragova's 9, and I don't know who's at 10 right now, but I don't know. As Chuck's, not Chuck, Ghost says squash match. Come on, Scott Cocker. All right, is that what it is? It's a knock on Scott's name. Litchell says, I mean, anything can happen. Can happen if you were a champion and got some hype, but yeah. All right, there you go. So Makoto says, go Ayaka. Litchell with the open mouth face. Jimmy says, hope Ayaka wins. That was heartbreaking to watch her lose like that. It definitely was tough. But we'll see. As Litchell says, and new, the official and new for Sayaka. The crowning moment officially. Very possible. As Rue says, hopefully Ayaka wins. Go says, again, guys, I love Ayaka, but you guys have to realize that she has technical skills that are actually dangerous. On Sayaka's side, he says, yes, obviously. As James says, Melissa Gatto will win because of Joe Gatto. That's right. How could I forget? She's got to replace him on the show, too. As he mentions to watch Impractical Jokers every Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific time. Joe is no longer on the show, but he's still funny. Yes, indeed. As Rue says, Gatto front kicked Sarge to death. Glorious. Indeed it was. As Jimmy says, can Gatto do that again? Front kick the insides. Absolutely. I'm sure she will. Maybe not a finish, but yeah. Citra says, is an hour and a half a good time for you, Drake? Yeah, it'll be fine. No longer than that. We're right on stride here. No problem at all. Rain says, question for you, Drake. Why do the top 15 girls always call it Joanna instead of Wei Li? More legacy to Joanna, beating Joanna. You know, she's one of the greatest fighters of all time. We're going to be completely honest. The greatest strawweight of all time. Less dangerous these days than Wei Li. I mean, hasn't fought in 2 years. You wrap all that up into one. Makes a little bit of sense to me. But as you mentioned specifically, Marina, Carla, Xiaonan, and Angela Hill have been calling out Joanna even when Wei Li was champ. So why are they calling her out even if she's inactive? Again, like I said. These Scott Coker names, I don't know. All in on Cooker is Scott Cooker's Twitter handle. No, it's not. What is this? I'm gonna have to do some research here. I don't know what you guys are talking about. James says, I also think an hour and a half is a good time for you, Drake, plus to bring back the Fanta Punch. I hear ya. I hear the need for it. And Jimmy says, how cool is that we're getting more people on the chat box? Yes, it is. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuning in for the first time, or if you're back for the second time, wherever you are in the big wide world. Appreciate it greatly. Really does mean a lot. Great to have so many new faces from wherever the places are. So, yeah, indeed. As Lee says, good news. Mr. Lee is here. I just found your new channel. It's 4 p.m. where I live, and I just got home from work. Well, awesome. Excellent news, Mr. Lee. Speaking of people who are coming back or here for the first time, excellent stuff. And James says we haven't had any spammers today. Yes, and I had a scare there. I played myself with Jersey, so I apologize to Jersey, man. That was for a second I thought you were somebody that we had in the chat a while ago who is an idiot. But yeah. As Jimmy says, do you think it's crazy that a lot of people get inspired by Weili in some sort of way? No, I don't think it's surprising or crazy. No, I really don't. I mean, you look at, she's the first Chinese UFC champion in MMA history. So not to discredit Weili whatsoever, because you guys know not what I'm trying to get at here, but whoever was going to be in that position was going to take that role. Like if it was Yan Jiaonan instead, then it kind of would have been the same thing. Maybe not to the same effect, because I think that Weili has more of a maybe radiant personality, a little bit more fun naturally, whereas Jiaonan's a little bit more serious, at least from the experience having spoken to both of them before, and just watching their careers and things like that. That's the kind of difference I could make right there in terms of them as humans. But yeah, I think no matter who was going to be the first Chinese UFC champ was going to be pretty inspirational for the country. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me too much, Jimmy. But, I think Zhang Jingnan, pretty good one as well, from what I've heard. And especially a lot of one fighters, whenever I mention her, are always pretty high on her for good reason. But anyway, all right, let's get ready to wrap up the show as we preview UFC London. A fight night is back in a place that is not Las Vegas. How crazy is that? Never thought we'd see the day, but we will start off, with a strawweight affair. Corey Mckenna versus Elise Reed. Oh, got the afternoon burps, I guess. But yeah, Corey McKenna, Elise Reed in London at strawweight, 115 pounds. Should be an interesting fight. This is one where I don't know. It's very odd to me because they're both in the early stage of their UFC career. Elise Reed, obviously, coming off that very rough loss to Sijara Eubanks, who lost to Melissa Gatto, at flyweight, which is always going to happen. That's just how that was going to happen. Corey McKenna has been out for a while now. I think she had, I don't know if it was a knee injury, but some kind of injury, I think, kept her out after that Kay Hansen robbery. I'm sorry to say it, but I just don't understand how she won that fight. Disagree with that greatly. Both the same height. If we're going to look at the numbers here, it was a reach. Corey McKenna, a little bit shorter. It says Team Alpha Male. I'm not sure how accurate that is, if she's actually a Team Alpha Male. Maybe someone can let me know. Chuck's always up on those kind of things. But 29 versus 22. I think Elise Reed's wins really a little bit better. Hillary Rose finished her in CFFC. Jillian DeCourse, not a bad one either. Atom weight, though, of course. Jasmine Jasdavicius, well, I mean, hey, she is in the UFC now as well. Was able to beat her. Split decision, albeit not a bad win. She's looking pretty good. Rebecca Briggman, that one in Bellator was a little bit funny. If you know who Rebecca Briggman is too, then, well, whereas Corey McKenna has, again, I'm not going to look at that Kay Hansen one. Beat Vanessa Demopoulos, though, and has some Cage Warriors experience. And lost to Nicole DeSegni. in her only career loss. But there should also be that Kay Hansen one, as I mentioned. So just kind of ram it on home. I'm sorry. Got to ram it on home. So in this fight, we'll see if, well, I mean, they both haven't fought in a while. I was going to say, Corey McKenna's got to deal with the rust, but it's been 7 months since that Eubanks loss for Elise Reed. She's just going to be a little bit tinier, I think, than not everybody in the division, but like a decent amount of people. And for Corey McKenna, has looked pretty strong in the wrestling department, which is kind of where I think Elise Reed has shined a bit. Obviously not so much against somebody like Sajara, but the size is much more appropriate here in the proper division for each of them. And it's funny how Tapology has her at flyweight there because of that last fight, but I don't know. There's just still so much left to be desired from Corey McKenna. I mean, she's still 22, but just green, just very green. It's hard to really say, especially with so much time away, fighters can make such drastic improvements when they're that young as well in the time away. And you look at somebody like Melissa Gatto, to go back to her, when she was out for 2 years or so, came back, reinvented, my goodness, for her UFC debut. It's just, yeah, I don't know. This is an interesting one. This is a very interesting one. As Cintro says, and the new people love your articles too. So great job, Drake. Thank you so much, Cintro. And thank you to everybody. Yes, I know it's very, very flattering. Very, very flattering. As Chuck says, too many inconsequential fights put together on UFC's fight nights lately. Oh, man, you're telling me, man. Yeah, not a lot of stakes to these cards a little bit. Not too many. Scott says, big fan of Elise Reed. I hope she can get it done. Tough matchup, but this fight should be fireworks. It's got potential to be pretty good. I really think so. And I really think that Elise can. I think she's shown us more against, again, better competition. But I don't know. Corey McKenna just finding ways so far, I suppose. As Litchell says, she was training with Team Alpha Male in January and February. Okay. And then Chuck says, I believe McKenna's still with Tam, but haven't been keeping up with McKenna. Well, I mean, Team Alpha Male kind of turning things around a little bit lately. Song Yadong looking pretty good. Zhao Nan didn't really show off her wrestling in the arena fight, but still looks sharp. And I mean, if Corey's training with Zhao Nan and them, that's good for her. But Makoto says, Drake, I reread your Whaley Remember the Name article. How did you react when you said that Tom Brady was the GOAT? It's funny that actually I forgot that I put that part in there. And I hope I haven't read it in a while, but I hope I made that like flow nicely because that seems very random to put in there. But disappointment. That's all I can say, Makoto. Just disappointing. I am not a Brady fan. I can't believe he's even coming back. Don't get me started. As James says, I got an in-depth question for you, Drake. Why does Luke... I don't like to do this kind of thing, James. Yeah, I don't want to mention those people. Nothing against Luke or Luke specifically, I guess, but don't need to talk about some others. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get into that. You can leave Ghost to that. As Rue says, Song Yadong did look incredible. Very much so. Very much so. Guy is fast. But as for this fight, it's obviously going to be not a home game for Corey McKenna, but we'll have the Europeans on her side. So should be interesting while it lasts. But I'm not too crazy about the fight. I like Scott's enthusiasm though, so that always helps me. As Cintro says, will you ever put that Remember the Name article on video? Well, can't now. It's too late. That belongs to bjpen.com, Cintro. So Can't do that. That's why I'm dying to get to speak with Whaley again. Then we can do whatever I want. And yeah, it's no longer in my hands. So, yep. Anyway, as for the final fight, or the last fight, the next fight, whatever you want to say, for UFC London, Meatball Molly Mckenna is taking on Luana Carolina in a fight that for some reason, I feel like this was matched. They were matched up together before. They might have been. And I swear that they were. I don't know why. Maybe I'm tripping. But either way, it's happening now. It's happening this week. UFC London, Meatball Molly in front of her home, United Kingdom. Not Liverpool, but close enough. I'm sure some people might get mad at me for saying that, but oh boy, can you imagine? I think the crowd is going to be crazy for Molly, and she'll be feeding off the crowd for sure. I mean, she did it for her last fight, and she was in the apex. This woman's insane. Really, really feeds off energy. It's just exciting. In most cases, Luana Carolina now put together a winning streak by getting the split decision over Botelho, and then a unanimous over Loopy. But that was I don't know. I feel like there was an argument there for Loopy too. It wasn't the strongest Loopy performance, but Luana just has not been all that impressive to me in the UFC so far either. Has the win over Cachoeira, which you guys know how I feel about Cachoeira. I mean, she beat her on the feet, so that's all right, I guess. But got that nasty, nasty knee bar put on her from Lipsky. Molly, last two losses were to Tyler Santos and Procopio. No shame in either of those. Then beats Ji-Yeon Kim, who, funny enough, fought Priscilla. In this fight, yes, the differences in length are very apparent. 69 inches, 262, 5'4" to 5'6". But generally, the length doesn't matter too much for Molly. She's able to work her way inside. She'll eat some if she has to. Don't you worry about that. You go back to her Priscilla Cachoeira win, which was, I think her second fight in the UFC, maybe her third, because she fought Jillian Robertson in her debut. Either way, doesn't matter. Was able to pull that one off despite a scare somewhat in the third round. I think Molly's going to do whatever she possibly can to win this fight, especially in London. Might get back to some of her wrestling, grappling, as she kind of did in Cage Warriors. But I think she's mostly going to want to put on a show here. And I think she'll get into Luana's face, make her uncomfortable, probably back her against the cage if she can. Kind of make it look, I feel like this could look very similar to Molly versus Ji-Yeon Kim. I think it, not identical, but virtually identical, my friends. So, Luana, I mean, if she can work in the clinch and kind of reverse positions when it gets to that point, I think that would be best for her. She is pretty good in there, has some solid knees, elbows, as we saw in her Contender Series bout anyways. But I don't know. It's been an interesting path so far for her. Whereas Molly, I think, shown us a bit more consistency in victory and defeat. When she loses, I mean, Procopio and Tyla both out-grappled her. And then, obviously, Jillian Robertson out-grappled her as well. But Luana Carolina is not going to out-wrestle or try to out-wrestle Molly McCann. So, don't need to worry about that. Elise says, I'm sorry I did tell you the Packers were going to win the Super Bowl. I was wrong. My bad. Yeah, not cool, man. Not cool at all. I'm so sick of football. Go says, Drake, you can read this out because we look at film and they go by preconceived ideas. All right, there we go. Go says, it's not hard to watch video footage of someone and take down the habits of certain fighters. Specifically, Ghost, he mentioned one person in there, and I guess it's between two people. So I'm narrowing it down incredibly, but I'm really not a fan of one of the people he mentioned. And I'm sure you guys know why. I do not think they're a good individual from any experiences that I've had or seen of them. Just incredibly arrogant, irritating, you name it. Um, yeah. As James says, why is there such a divide on what type of fighter Whaley is? Some say she is an unintelligent brawler, but some say she is a good technical striker with great ideas. That's versatility, my man. And you're able to be all those things at one time. I don't know. Haters gonna hate? Who knows? Everyone's got their own reasons. As Elise says, Stamina MC lives in the UK. I will send him a message letting him know about your new channel. My guy. There you go. That'd be great. I'm sure we'll see him next week then. I don't know what time it is right now over there, but sure it can't be too late. Let me pull up my world clock. I don't know why this wasn't open already. London. No, it's 8:26 p.m. This is a great time. This is a great time for practically everybody, right? Unless you live in India, it's a little bit early for you. If you do live in China, then it is 4:26 a.m. So that's pretty early. Japan, a little bit early there too. All right, so some places in Asia. But if you're not there, then what are you doing not being here? As Rain putting out the math. The math. So I'm not going to put that one up, but I appreciate it, sir. Scott says the judges love Meatball, especially in London. Carolina will need to get a finish to win. Scott, I know where you're coming from, but I've done articles about this as well, but I think that the hometown bias is a myth. Very much a firm believer in that, because the judges aren't always from the country. Very rarely, actually. I think that in London, they maybe more so are than other places. But if you look at like Brazilian events, shows in Brazil, they don't even have like a commission down there. I don't think, like, at least one stable one. I haven't thought about it in a while or talked to people who are from there, but I know that there was a time where they had like a bunch of little ones, and that probably is still the case. But when the UFC goes there, you'll see like the same group of names we always get. So they're traveling there too. It's not some Brazilian judges being biased. So I can share with you a past article too. I did a lot of number kind of crunching and looking at things that I think support that argument. But yeah. Kono says, Drake devastated to know that Whaley is a Tom Brady fan. Yes, I cannot. As Chuck says, the person Drake is talking about, but smartly won't name, as a cancer to the community. Exactly. Yeah. Just not great. Not great. You guys can figure it out yourself, and you probably know already. But Ghost says, Meatball ran her face into Kim's jab and right hand and still won. It's impressive, isn't it? So I expect more of the same, right? I expect more of the same. And no problem, Scott. None at all. As Rain says, Drake plus Ghost Phantom equals awesome. There we go. That's some healthy math for you. But all right. I know you guys don't want your picks, but I just cannot help. I feel like it's a disservice to a show format to not do picks. So I am going to say that I think I'm going to go Elise Reed and Molly McCann. I won't give specific methods, but that's how I feel. And I think if you just listen closely enough, you can kind of tell which directions I'm leaning. But I don't know. I felt like giving them right now as we get ready to wrap up here. Just about at the perfect mark of 1:30. Starving. Need to get some food in my belly. As I woke up very early again, like I said, to speak with Diana Afsaragova. Shameless plug. That will be out this week. Do not miss it. As we are at that point again where we can do the outro music. See, I remembered it this time. So don't forget, you guys, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell for the channel on YouTube. Follow MMAmania.com on all the social media platforms you can possibly imagine, wherever we might be. Keep up with the website. Follow the stories everybody's doing. Myself, of course. And yeah, at Drake Riggs _ on Twitter, on Instagram as well, if you are into that kind of thing. follow WMMA Mania. As for other interviews and whatnot, I will be dropping my chat with Mulan Yanan Wu in about an hour. So look forward to that one. She is back. She is taking on Mayra Bueno Silva on UFC Vegas 51, I believe it is, April 17th. So good stuff with Wu. She was fun to chat with, very happy kind of person. And yeah, look for that on MMAmania.com in about an hour. Like I said, video will be here on YouTube, everything on the website, of course. As I mentioned, Diana Avsaragova, some other things. I think I'm probably forgetting some, a little bit jumbled. No, that's kind of about it for now. Kind of taking it a little slow and easy. Gonna hopefully get on Broaden Horizon episode 14 here soon, hopefully this week, as Ryzen 34 is coming up this weekend as well, but no women's fight, so that's a bummer. But still gonna be a good show. Big event in terms of fights. Feels like a lot, but it's probably the normal number. Either way, you guys know the drill. It is what it is. So, as Scott agrees on my picks, there we go. And picks are fun. So yeah, see, people enjoy them. You got to have something for everybody. So, Ghost, I know you're not a fan, but hey, I got to satisfy everybody the best I can. So, a little something for everybody. As James says, Drake has the best women's show. Not even close. Oh, you are too kind, my friend. As Ghost says, Drake is the man. Read his stuff. Yes, please do. Appreciate it greatly. Reigns' only reason to watch the show is Drake. Oh, man, now you're killing me with kindness. Jumbo, great to see you for the first time as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Would be great to see you back as well next week. Lovely show, she says. Scott says, well done as always. Thank you, sir. Alvin says, such a fantastic show. Litchfield with the 07. Don't know what that means, but I'll take it. Maybe the OS, whatever it is. Centro says, Drake has the best MMA show, period. It's not even close. You guys are too nice. Too nice. Appreciate you greatly. All right, you guys, I got to get out of here before I get writing for the day, before I release the interview. Got to eat some food, all that kind of thing. A little bit overtime. Try to keep it under an hour next week, but there was so much to talk about. There was just so much to talk about this week. But either way, we'll see you next time, you guys. Stay safe, stay sane, enjoy the week of fights. Just enjoy the week overall. All right, you guys, take care.